Starting 1st of July, Malaysians will see their TNB bills increase by over 13% due to the new RP4 tariff scheme. And this couldn't come at the worst time because alongside it comes the newly revised SST scheme, further driving up our already high cost of living. So what exactly changed with this new tariff? How does it even work? Why increase now? And most importantly, how does it affect your electricity bill directly? I promise this video will be worth your time. Now, before we dive into TNB's new tariff details, if you want to invest in Tenaga's share, you can do it safely with Moomoo, a reliable platform that is licensed and regulated by the Securities Commission SC Malaysia, allowing you to trade both local and international stocks across multiple markets. One key feature that I've found super helpful for my investments is their institutional tracker. This tool gives you a clear view of where large institutional funds like EPF, KWAP or major global funds like BlackRock are investing. So you can see they don't just cover our local market but also US, Singapore, Hong Kong and China market. And of course, Tenaga is one of EPF's top holdings and their stake position is still increasing. And with this tool, you no longer need to dig through financial reports or check Bursa Malaysia's announcement. If you have ever wondered how your retirement funds are being managed, or you just want to follow where the big players are putting their money, this tool is incredibly handy, and more so during times of market uncertainty by giving you insights into institutional buy and sell activity, top holdings, sector focus and regions exposure. And whatever I've just said can also be found under the individual stock page. Just look under the company tab and click into shareholders, and there you have it all. And all these features come for free. So if you haven't signed up yet, they are now offering attractive sign up rewards for new users, including free Apple share. Latest details in the pinned comment down below. You can click into my link down there and deposit with my exclusive code Z11, that's Z11, to get extra rewards before the campaign ends. So to answer all of that, we need to start with understanding the company that supplies electricity to almost the entire Peninsular Malaysia, Tenaga Nasional Berhad, TNB. You see, the electricity that we use in our house and office right now is generated from power plants that are usually situated in rural or coastal areas. Most of these plants in Malaysia, about 71% to be exact, will burn two key fossil fuels, natural gas and coal, to generate heat and then steam, thereby turning the turbine, the generator and then producing electricity. But it doesn't end there. This electricity will then be stepped up with a transformer, pass through thousands of kilometers of transmission lines, have its voltage stepped down again at your local substations, before finally being distributed to your homes for safe usage by your devices. Now, keeping this diagram in mind helps explain everything that ends up on your TNB bill. First of all, fuel costs. TNB's gas is mostly contracted from Petronas, while their coal is largely imported from Indonesia and Australia, both commodities traded on the international market, which means they are exposed to fuel price volatility. And to complicate things further, these prices are also affected by currency exchange movement, which can have a significant impact on TNB's financials. And to make everything in this diagram possible, they'll need massive upfront capital expenditures. And we're talking about billions of ringgits over many years to build all the infrastructure, ranging from the power plant equipment to transmission network, grid, as well as the substations, etc. etc. Anyways, what's important for you to know now is that TNB's tariff structure has been set by the government using a framework called Incentive-Based Regulation (IBR) since 2014, which ensures the tariffs are more reflective of the actual cost of producing electricity, while encouraging greater efficiency from utility providers like TNB. And under it, tariffs are reviewed periodically, usually every 3 yearly, and these review periods are known as regulatory periods or RP. So we have just concluded RP3 and RP4 has just begun on 1st July 2025. But before we jump into the latest tariff scheme, let's quickly recap how the previous RP3 tariff scheme worked. During RP3, which ran from 2022 to 2024, TNB utilized a mechanism called the Imbalance Cost Pass-Through (ICPT), where tariffs were adjusted every 6 months based on fluctuations in fuel costs, basically allowing them to pass through any additional fuel costs or savings directly to the consumers. And remember this table? You're basically paying TNB based on the 5 different tiers of your monthly electricity consumption, starting from 21.8 cents per kilowatt hour and up to 57.1 cents per kilowatt hour. And with this ICPT mechanism, domestic users, basically residents like you and I, will be charged based on different tier of usage. And for monthly consumption below 600 kilowatt hour or roughly 220 ringgit per month, a 2 cents per kilowatt hour rebate will be provided. Anything between 601 to 1500 kilowatt hour, basically 220 ringgit to roughly 800 ringgit a month, no changes will be made to the bill. But for high electricity consumption users over 1500 kilowatt hour per month, there will be a penalty charge of 10 cents per kilowatt hour added to the entire bill. Now, in RP4, things are quite different to say the least. They now apply a flat rate across different components. Remember the semi-annual review of ICPT to adapt to the changes in fuel costs? That has been replaced with a new AFA mechanism, short for automatic fuel adjustment, that allows for monthly revisions. So electricity prices can sort of better reflect real-time energy cost fluctuations and also avoid the time lag in fuel cost recovery. In a way, it's fairer for both TNB and users as well. And as of the recording of this video, AFA for the month of August 2025 has been announced to be negative 1.45 cents per kilowatt hour, and it is officially also kept at plus minus 3 cents per kilowatt hour, which TNB may adjust on a monthly basis. But subject to government approval, there is no guarantee whether this cap will change or not during this RP4 period. Now, another component that has changed quite a bit is the energy charge, basically the fuel cost of generating electricity. It's currently fixed at 27.03 cents per kilowatt hour for up to 1500 kilowatt hour usage. Anything more than that, an additional 10 cents per kilowatt hour will be added onto the whole bill. And next, the capacity charge, which covers the cost of keeping power plants running and having standby capacity ready just in case. And this is fixed at 4.55 cents per kilowatt hour. And then the network charges, basically the cost to send electricity through their transmission network straight to your home. And this is fixed at 12.85 cents per kilowatt hour. And last but not least, there's a fixed 10 ringgit retail charge for every household consuming more than 600 kilowatt hour per month, or about 220 ringgit. And this fee covers the cost for customer service, billing, and managing your account. And remember, the 2 cents per kilowatt hour ICPT rebate, that has been scrapped and replaced with something called Energy Effective Incentives, or short for EEI. And this time, it's even better. If you consume less than 1000 kilowatt hour in a month, or roughly 470 ringgit, then you will enjoy an incentive from 0.5 cents up to 25 cents per kilowatt hour. And two things remain unchanged. 1. The 8% service tax applicable for any usage above the 600 kilowatt hour threshold. And 2. The Fit-in Tariff, or FIT, or KWTBB. Basically, you are contributing to our Renewable Energy Fund, and this is charged at 1.6% on any usage above 300 kilowatt hour per month. Now, on to the exciting part. I've compiled a table comparing the old and new tariff prices, inclusive of service tax and the 1.6% FIT. You're welcome. And with the current negative AFA, and possibly for the next 3 months based on their forecast due to lower global fuel prices and foreign exchange gains, TNB will then pass on the rebates, and your electricity bill for the coming months will definitely be cheaper compared to the previous tariff scheme. And this is also largely thanks to the EEI incentive, which provides you a larger rebate the less you consume. However, the rebate will reduce when it hits the 1000 kilowatt hour threshold. And you'll also notice that for high consumption beyond 1500 kilowatt hour, or roughly 800 ringgit equivalent of monthly bill, the difference gets significantly larger because of RP3's tier charge, on top of the 10 cents per kilowatt hour high usage penalty kicking in. And as a result of that, your electricity bill in RP4 will get significantly cheaper. Now, of course, AFA cannot be negative forever. So let's assume the worst case scenario where AFA goes up to the current cap of plus 3 cents per kilowatt hour. Now, your electricity bill in this RP4 scheme will actually be more expensive than RP3, from 700 kilowatt hour usage up to around 1200 kilowatt hour. And the reason for this is because AFA and retail charges of 10 ringgit starts kicking in with a flat rate applicable to the entire bill. But beyond that point, the flat energy charge component will taper down as compared to the previous ICPT penalty. And trust me, it's a mathematical rabbit hole that my team and I have spent days on. So I'll save you the time for it. Long story short, we can conclude that the current RP4 scheme is actually cheaper compared to RP3 for all domestic use cases like normal residents. And if it's not obvious already, the deal breaker here is the AFA component, which will determine whether your upcoming electricity bill will be cheaper or pricier, and we can only see how TNB adjusts it on a monthly basis. Oh, by the way, I realized that more than 80% of you watching this video are not subscribed to this channel yet. Making these videos takes a lot of effort and time. So if you enjoy these timely economic updates and summaries, you will help my team and I a lot by just clicking the subscribe button down below. We promise to deliver more and better research videos for you in the future. Now, apart from those, TNB actually introduced a new scheme called Time of Use, or short for ToU, where you can save extra money on your bill. But first, you'll need to apply for a smart meter. And the idea is very simple. You'll get cheaper rates during off-peak hours. That's 10 PM to 2 PM the next day on weekdays, and all day on weekends and public holidays. And on the flip side, the tariff will be higher on peak hours. That's 2 PM to 10 PM on weekdays. So instead of paying the base 27.03 cents per kilowatt hour tariff for up to 1,500 kilowatt hour, with ToU, you will only pay 24.43 cents per kilowatt hour during off-peak period, almost a 10% discount, and 28.52 cents per kilowatt hour during peak period, just 5% more than the standard rate. As for those using more than 1,500 kilowatt hour or roughly 800 ringgit per month, the rates go up by 10 cents per kilowatt hour, with off-peak period rate of 34.43 cents per kilowatt hour and peak period rate of 38.52 cents per kilowatt hour. But the savings remain the same at 2.6 cents per kilowatt hour during off-peak period. The difference is you will have to pay slightly more during peak hours at 1.49 cents per kilowatt hour versus the standard scheme. And since off-peak hours cover up to 128 hours a week, there's a big window for us to shift our usage. For example, if you use 400 kilowatt hour off-peak to charge your EV or run appliances, you will save about 10 ringgit per month. And at 1000 kilowatt hour off-peak, that's 26 ringgit saved monthly just on energy fees. And like I've mentioned just now, to do this, you will need a smart meter that you can apply at your nearest Kedai Tenaga via email or online through MyTNB starting 1st August 2025. It tracks when you use electricity, so TNB can charge you less during low demand hours. So of course, up to this point, it feels like RP4 is cheaper for most of us and no one is losing, right? So what's the fuss about all these price hikes? Someone has to lose, right? Well, unfortunately, the short end of the stick goes to businesses, especially high energy users like factories, malls, and data centers. But the good news is, under RP4, they no longer need to be worried about sharp fluctuation in the penalties because the new AFA component is capped at ±3 cents per kilowatt hour and hence offers better cost predictability. But the downside is the base cost structure covering generation, network capacity, and retail is calculated at a flat rate instead. Long story short, that means electricity bills will be higher overall for this category of users. So to offset this, the ToU scheme can help manage these costs if businesses can shift operations to off-peak hours. However, the same can't be said for always-on 24/7 sectors like data centers or cold storage. They pretty much don't have a choice. So for them, RP4 likely means a net increase in overall electricity costs, and even analysts have forecasted it. And precisely because of this, higher tariffs are already threatening Malaysia's reputation as a regional hub for data centers. Companies like Equinix, one of the largest data center players in the world, are even exploring green alternatives or even moving to cheaper countries like Vietnam or Thailand. And when energy gets expensive for data centers, they may then pass on the cost to us consumers, resulting in price inflation for goods and services. So, all things considered, who truly benefits from this new tariff? At first glance, everyday households might feel a slight relief on their electricity bill, and TNB definitely stands to gain as they pass costs onto consumers, safeguarding their profits. But have you ever wondered why TNB needs to protect those profits in the first place? It's all about dividends. Tenaga, as a cornerstone stock on Bursa Malaysia, has a duty to reward shareholders. Historically, TNB's dividend payouts range between 52% and 66% of its profits from 2020 to 2024, aligning closely with their stated policy of distributing 30 to 60% of earnings. So, if you are among TNB's shareholders, this move makes perfect sense as the dividends are certainly appealing. But for the rest of us, it's a timely reminder that behind every policy, there's always a deeper financial story at play. Let me know what you think of these new changes in the comments down below. Thanks for watching.